Welcome back to another Coffee Break podcast. Am I the asshole? We're here. We need your opinions. Talk to us. We need to hear. All right. So, right off the bat, am I the asshole for snapping at my pregnant wife over a cold empanada?
I'll tell you right now. You are.
Okay. Just right off bat?
Right off bat. You don't need more context than that.
You don't.
You don't need more context.
The pregnancy threw it off.
Okay, let's go.
My wife, female 26, and I are expecting our first child. And honestly, these last few months have been very exhausting. She's been extra emotional, needy, and nitpicky, and it feels like I can't seem to do anything right for her. Little things escalate into larger arguments. Like last week, she was upset because I didn't notice she wanted a specific tea, and she accused me of not listening when I asked her about her day. I've tried to be patient, but it's wearing me down. Last night, she had a major craving and asked me to pick up a hot empanada from a spot we both love. She emphasized hot, like she kept repeating it in her usual excited but dramatic way. I went outside, I grabbed the empanada, I came home, and I left it on the counter while she was in the shower. She didn't know I was back yet, and I thought to myself, well, she'll see it on the counter when she comes out. So, me being me, I was tired from work throughout the day, and honestly, I didn't want to deal with any other theatrics, so I just went to the living room and crashed on the couch. Time passed, she got out of the shower, went upstairs to the bedroom, and eventually noticed that I hadn't come home. She comes downstairs and sees the empanada sitting cold on the counter. All hell broke loose. She starts yelling about how I never get things right, how I ruined her craving, that I don't care about her or the baby, and that all these little things had been simmering over the past few weeks. I tried to explain that I left it out for her to enjoy, but she wasn't having it. Finally, I snapped back. I said, you know what? What do you want me to do? I got it for you. It's on the counter. It's cold now, so what? It's not the end of the world. Just warm it up. She looked at me dead in the face, started to cry, and walked back to our bedroom. I feel really guilty now for snapping, but I also feel like I'm being pushed to my limits to some degree. So, am I the asshole for yelling at her over the cold empanada?
Yeah.
Talk about it.
He is.
Tell us.
There are times when somebody, especially a pregnant woman, can't control what's happening. Like her emotions are out of whack, her hormones are going through the roof, and you have to be able to provide grace at this point, you know? Because he didn't at any point tell me this is something that has been reoccurring. Was it like this prior to getting pregnant? Was she always like this? Or did this started happening when she became pregnant? You know? I think that isn't a question that he has to answer, because if it's just during the pregnancy and you're noticing a change in her behavior, you have to let it be, bro. You have to let it rock. This person is literally carrying a whole new human being, you know? And not only that, but everything is just out of whack for her. You know, like if this could be her first time having a kid. She doesn't know.
Yeah, it's the first child.
Yeah, she doesn't know how she would react, how her body will react, how her mind will react. And I get it. Taking a step back, it may look dumb, like, oh, a hot empanada. But in reality, it's just the way that her emotions are running right now. You know, you have to be able to have a grace for, especially for your wife in this point of what's happening, you know? 100%. And do I get why he snapped? Absolutely. You know, I know what it's like when you feel like you're doing the most, and to people, it's kind of like it's still not good enough. Mm-hmm. But there's times in which you have to take a step back and be like, okay, is this a situation in which I should snap? You know?
Gotcha.
Do I get why he did it? Absolutely. But do I agree with him? No. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. What do you think?
I work in a client-facing job where you deal with a range of people and a range of mental states and emotions.
Yeah.
After a while, you adapt to not every caller and not every client is going to be the same, and not every environment is going to be the same. I think after a while, you have to, like you were saying, you have to realize she's not in her correct mental space and physical space, that small things will trigger her. And I think, honestly, before people decide if this is a planned pregnancy, before people decide to get pregnant, talk to people about what's going to happen with your wife as well. Because people prepare for the baby, but they don't prepare for how the pregnancy is going to be. So those things happen where they have small arguments and the guy takes it personally. Mm-hmm. I've seen that. So try to figure out how the environment's going to be and try to prepare that. Talk to your sisters, your mother, friends, whoever you can to mentally prepare yourself for being the target in your own household.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. Because it's not her fault that she's going to be triggered by small stuff because her emotions are being out of whack and you need to adapt. Because I had to realize that with people around me and friends or coworkers and stuff like that, or the clients, you're going to be yelled at for random things. And you're going to have to calm yourself and try to figure out how to maneuver through this conversation without getting the person even higher in anger, trying to calm them down with jokes. And if it's not right time for jokes, then just hear them out, apologize, and try to see how we can move forward with this conversation.
I agree. I have no problem being a punching bag for the woman who's carrying my child. You know what I mean? I have no problem.
That's where you lost me a little
Go
bit.
ahead. What do you mean?
I don't think anybody should need to be a punching bag. I think the one thing that's missing in this conversation or this scenario here is a conversation between the husband and the wife. You know what I mean? Because both are being pushed to limits on two different spectrums, right? I think the wife deserves the most grace here because she's pregnant.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I do think that to some degree, the husband is only human and can only take so much mental anguish and pressure on top of being a working man. So he needs some grace in the sense that things aren't going to be done right all the time, but he also needs to learn that the way he reacts to certain things can be the cause of another issue. You know what I mean? So I think in this instance, yes, he'd made an asshole move by yelling at his wife, but I also think that he's justified in the sense that he was pushed to his actual limit. You know what I mean? Like you said, he's been used as a punching bag, right? But that doesn't need to be the case because I think after this situation, if I was this person, this husband right now, right? Not only would I apologize to my wife about how I acted and how I reacted, but I would like to have a conversation with her about where my mental head is at. You know what I mean? Where my head has been throughout the time that she's been pregnant and how things have been going for me, so that she understands where I am too and can actually gauge, where my day has been or where my mental state is and stuff like that, to avoid anyone being a punching bag. So I think the healthiest way they can go about it is to be more open in communication with each other, talk to each other about their feelings and things that are going out throughout their days and stuff like that, and be attentive when someone's speaking about these types of things, and that will help the dynamic of the pregnancy go out a little better. Because like you're saying, I think you made a great point when you said a lot of people plan for the baby, but they don't plan for the pregnancy itself. You know what I mean? And that's when, leaning on people, family members and stuff like that really help you in situations, but also having the open communication with your spouse in the time of the pregnancy will also help you guys navigate, rough patches and stuff like that. So I disagree with what you say when somebody needs to be a punching bag. I just think that you can become the punching bag if things go on for a certain amount of time, but you can avoid having stress because of that by having these conversations. Let
me clarify. When I said I'm okay with being a punching bag, I meant in situations, okay?
Yeah.
I meant in a situation where her emotions are out of whack and she's incapable of keeping everything under control. I'm okay with being the punching bag. You know what I mean?
What do you mean by that, though?
What I mean by is, for this example, being on the other end of not bringing a hot empanada. I'm not going to blow up on her. I will let her take out her emotions and let her do what she feels. And then later on, when she's in the right state of mind, because emotions are always going to be wave, I will have a conversation with her and be like, I didn't appreciate that. And maybe we can speak, we can talk about it. But then you always have to know during pregnancy, you're not always going to be dealing with somebody who's in the right of mind, you know? Yeah, I'm not saying she's a crazy woman, but when her hormones are out of whack, it's going to be hard to maintain yourself,
100%.
So I can have a conversation with her when she's feeling better about how I felt and how I would like it to be. But if the same situation was to happen again, it would be the same result. You know what I mean?
100%.
I would be like, yo, I will take the brute force of your anger, but then later on, I will talk to you about, hey, that made me unhappy, and I'm doing my best. I work X amount of hours. I didn't do everything you want me to do, and I didn't appreciate that.
And I think having those conversations will avoid that becoming a pattern.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing here, is to avoid these types of blow-ups from becoming a pattern, right? Because you want to be locked in, especially at a time of need when your wife's pregnant.
Yeah.
You got to be almost 150% for her while she's at her, 50%
100%.
during the pregnancy.
You got to pick it up the pace.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I agree. But having those conversations really stop things from becoming a pattern.
100%.
So,
yeah.
It is what it is.
Let me ask you guys a question. Let's say your wife was pregnant. Okay. And she is pushing you guys to a limit that you cannot maintain. Like every request is to you. And let's do that for me. Go outside, buy me ice cream, buy me this. Do you guys think you could manage? And how would you prep yourself to manage that type of situation?
Everybody has their limits.
Yeah.
And I think once you get pushed to your limits, you need to express that, right? So yes, I feel like I have an extreme amount of patience for anybody. You know what I mean? That's just who I am. But I don't want to ever feel like I'm being taken advantage of.
Bless your wife though.
Yeah, fair enough. That's what I mean by we need to talk about these things when I'm pushed to the limit. You know what I mean? Like if it's like, cravings and like stuff like this here and there, 100% sure, no problem. You need all the support you can get right now, and I'll be there for you, right? But if, let's say for example, like my health or well-being is not being taken accounted for, let's say I just came back from a 12-hour shift and I'm really tired and I just want to take a nap and stuff like that, and it's like I'm not able to get that just off of like instances of cravings and stuff like that, then that's where I feel like there's a lack of considerateness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just be a little bit more considerate for the person that's helping you out, and then you won't have to be pushed to those limits. You know what I mean? So yes, to answer your question, yes, I think I can handle it. But at the same time too, I would like for there to be some sort of like considerateness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just consider me while I'm doing this is all I ask.
Okay.
But that's it. What do you think?
Can you handle to be pushed to your limits? Was that the question?
Can you handle the pressure, fam?
I think that's where that thought came from of preparing for the pregnancy. That's what I'm going to try to do, is speak to my sisters and speak to other people that have had pregnancies and how it handled. I think it's important to have a confidant when you're going through that situation, someone where you can rely on and speak through the issues with, because again, your wife is not in the correct mental space and she's not in the correct space to have some conversations. So if you're telling her, hey, this is how I felt, we don't know. It depends on how she is handling the pregnancy, of how she's going to handle that conversation of, this is how you felt, I'm the one pregnant.
Yeah.
So I think having a confidant of speaking through, hey, this is what happened, this is how I handled it, how should I handle it going forward, then trying to speak to your wife about it later on. Hey, this is what happened with us. I didn't appreciate it, but this is how I'm looking to handle it. How do you feel? And seeing how that treated, and it's gonna happen where you're pushed to your limits. Just don't take it out on the wrong person, because she's not in the capacity to probably take that conversation. But I think I would be able to handle it just off preparation.
Respect. Okay.
Answer the question then.
Definitely.
But you're very passive aggressive, so you're gonna show that you're annoyed with what you're doing.
I'm passive aggressive?
Yeah, very passive aggressive. Very passive aggressive.
You know what though? I think there's a time and a place. I'll keep it a whole buck. If I know what it's like, I grew up with women. You feel me? I know what it's like having people in the house who are going through their reds and then cramping and needing stuff. I've been getting pads since I've been 7, going to store. You know?
Are you getting hot empanadas at 3 a.m.?
I'd be fam.
You're about it though.
There's a reason why my sisters bought me a bike when I was a child, so I can take myself to the Loblaws that used to be open beside us, so I could just buy them stuff. You know, so I'm used to these type of demands.
And because you like bikes.
But
don't put that on your sisters, all right? They didn't treat you like a slave, all right?
They
Those
didn't. But
very respectful women.
There's a reason why they bought the bike.
Because you like bikes.
No. They didn't buy it for me. They bought it for themselves. But I feel like throughout my life, I've been built for the moment of having a child, you know? And then the whole process of childbirth, I think I'm built for it. You know, and inshallah, I can't wait till the time where it actually happens and I can celebrate it. But to Mukhtar's point, the whole thing of talking to people, making sure 100%. But I feel like a lot of that is just ingrained in me because of all the women I've had around my life, you know? So I'm okay. Back to what I was saying, I'm okay with taking a little bit of the heat during a time in which the mother of my child is holding my child, you know?
Yeah.
But then later on, I want to have that conversation, you know?
I mean, I think it's expected to some degree for the men to be like, kind of the pillars
at
that time. But it's how much certain men have a little bit of a smaller threshold than others.
Nah, for this, I will have to have the most.
Yeah, you have to have like a significantly high amount of a threshold.
Yeah,
but a lot of guys that aren't, mature as much, will have a small threshold to that.
Yeah, but I think there's a time and a place. Like for something work related, I'm not gonna have the capacity to blah blah blah. You know, like I don't care about that. But if it's my wife holding my kid, or having my kid in her stomach, fam, she can ask the world, and I'll be there for her.
It's kind of the same way when you actually do have a kid too, right?
Yeah.
Like there's going to be moments as a parent where you're like, you know, you're up to here with some stress or something like that. And then your kid's going to come to you with something that's probably just, you know, throwing you for a loop.
Yeah.
You can't just snap at them. You know, you got to keep
100%.
your cool, maintain your, you know, composure and like navigate that as a normal, healthy adult would.
Fact.
You know, and this is no different in my opinion.
100% agree.
Yo, pregnant women, we got you.
So he the asshole.
Yeah, I would say so.
Mukhtar?
Yeah.
And I agree with you guys.
Let us know in the comments, guys. Yo, hey, is this guy tripping out? Or, you know, is he just being pushed to a cold empanada or a warm empanada? Let us know. Tap in. We're the Coffee Break Podcast. See you next time.